And we're live.
Thank you. We'll go ahead and call to order the Auburn City Council Workshop Special Session dealing with all of our fun COVID-related issues. I'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. If everybody would please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, I would appreciate it. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everybody, for that. Amy, I guess on our agenda, we're going ahead and call and roll. Would you mind doing that?
Sure. Councilmember Berlant will be joining us shortly, as well as Amara. Let's see. Councilmember Dowden Calvillo.
Present.
Adele Harris. Here. And Mayor Stokely.
Here. Thank you very much. First up is public comment. This is time for other persons may speak to the council on items not on this agenda. Does anybody on the call have anything they want to bring up under public comment? And Amy, did we get any public comment from the general public?
Checked right before the meeting, and no, we currently do not have any public comment for this meeting.
Great, thank you very much. So we'll jump right in. We did have our mayor's call this afternoon with Dr. Oldham. He primarily was focused on rolling out the vaccinations, which I appreciated kind of getting a little more information on. As I think we all have heard, the state has opened up the vaccinations for our population 65 and older, which as you might imagine has created quite a flood of appointments being requested from that population. The grounds center down at the Roseville Fairgrounds is the primary place where the county is distributing vaccinations. That's separate and aside from what the healthcare providers are providing Southern Kaiser in our communities. But overall, I think the goal for the county is to try to increase those number of vaccinations per month. Right now, Dr. Oldham mentioned that he's hopeful that he'll get his capacities or abilities up to about 7,400 doses per month for vaccines in our community. The ground center is fully staffed right now. I didn't hear the number how many they vaccinate there per day, but he did talk a little bit about the application or the appointment software that they're using. It's a little bit clunky on the internet, a little bit of a challenge to use. He provided one tip that I thought would be worthy for me to mention to everybody. These vaccines are being distributed without cost to the community. And one of the options that sounds like on this appointment process that's online is to click whether or not you have insurance. He suggested, and I'd like to just pass this along, he suggested to just say no insurance, even if you're Kaiser or Sutter or some other provider, because that eliminates a whole bunch of prompts and inputs that you have to provide on that online application process. So his suggestion was to just say no insurance. It streamlines it a bit and gets the appointment quicker for you, less of a headache online trying to populate fields on this application. The timeframes for getting the appointments, it sounded like one of the mayors mentioned, Mayor of Roseville mentioned that she signed up her mother to get the vaccination, and it was an appointment that she got the following day. So that's a positive thing. If we're able to get folks in efficiently and quickly, that's a good thing. Right now, I think we're obviously all of the healthcare, all of the age-restricted facilities, senior facilities, and now 65 and older. I didn't hear, and John, I know you were on the call, maybe you heard, but I didn't hear when we expect to have the next tier to open up. But we've got quite a backlog in our 65 and older community to kind of get through the system. So did Dr. Oldham talk about when he thought the next tier would open up, John?
No, there was no update on that, because kind of is the kind of clunkiness of how much vaccine they're getting and when they can get it. I think Dr. Oldham was very blunt, saying that the communication with the state on all this stuff caused a lot of hiccups as far as how much supply, when things can move into different tiers. So bottom line, no, but he did express just about the idea that the 65 and older crowd can get down there, as long as, I think he said that they're in phase 2 of 1A or something like that. So, but they're moving.
Alice?
Yes. So Matt, people that are interested in scheduling through the county, given that there is no cost, their healthcare providers are taking a long time to get to them, for example, do they just do that via the website, the county website, or is there a specific site, do you know, that they need to access to make those reservations or that appointment?
I believe it's on the county website. John, maybe between the two of us, we can get a link out to everybody to direct them, and we all can pass it along to constituents so everybody knows where they need to go to get 65 and older folks signed up.
The
Yeah,
county,
if we could.
the county's Facebook page put a link out yesterday. So
Okay,
if you go
good.
to their Facebook page, it had all the information and the links for signing up.
Great.
Perfect. I just want to make sure that we can provide that information to folks that are asking us, because I know I'm getting questions. I'm sure you all are.
Thank you. Daniel?
I was just going to pop in, and sorry, I'm late here. A lot of confusion yesterday because there are people already over 65 that have been successful going through the county process to be immunized. So kind of this back and forth of whether they're there or not seems to be a semantic, since people are getting the shot. But I'd note that not only did the county put out the links for Safeway, all of the mental health providers, but also through the county process, so you could sign up for appointments at the grounds. But they did push out this afternoon that you can sign up for alerts through Placer 211, so that depending on your age and what group you're in, you can be notified when that change happens. But again, my editorial is, it almost seems like there's a blur between what those tiers are and phases are anymore, and understanding that that's probably not within the county's control anyways. It's based on the federal government and the state kind of changing things. But just wanted to throw that out there, that, like Rachel said, the links are already out there. I posted several things yesterday, but the link is there. And I've talked to several people who used that yesterday, and today were successful at getting their shots. And then again, that 211 link as well to be notified is available.
That's great.
Well,
Thank you.
I'm glad to hear that it's so quick. I mean, that's incredible, because I know, like Kaiser, for example, is still giving the vaccine to their staff. So they haven't even gotten to people 75 and older. So,
but see, you say that, and they may say that, but I've talked to even residents who last night were able to get through their reservations system and are scheduled to go in there this week. Or
Kaiser?
Beginning of next week to do it, Kaiser.
wow.
So it's kind of like the word I used with Colfax, a little bit of a hot mess.
So I will also share with you, Dr. Oldham did express a little bit of frustration, and I think we all are kind of seeing it and hearing it with the effectiveness for the state to get the vaccines down to the counties for distribution. Last numbers I saw were, I believe, yesterday, but of the 2.8 or so million vaccines that are in the state, roughly a quarter have been administered. That is a bit frustrating. Just like our change in status from lockdown to that being lifted, came as quite a surprise, I think, to all of us on this call. It's challenging because we know the vaccines are here and we just can't get our hands on them. Dr. Oldham, again, as I mentioned, thinks that he has capacity to administer up to 7,400 doses per month. They're well below that now just because they don't have the vaccines in hand to administer. So, John, anything else you want to add on the mayor's call that we had this afternoon?
No, just you touched on all the stuff regarding the vaccine. The stay-at-home order obviously was lifted. I know that Dr. Oldham did mention that there were some things within the overall metrics and criteria that seemed to be kind of dynamic. So the predictability of moving from one color tier to the next color tier, he mentioned whether there was a chance that we would go back into the stay-at-home order, and I kind of laughed because every single person that was on the call just shook their heads going, no, that ain't going to happen. So they said that they were going to try and wrap their heads around everything. So my guess, they said at the end of the thing, at least Dr. Oldham said that he would try and get a better update sometime next week at next Friday's meeting.
Great, thank you. Anything else on that particular item? All right, we'll go ahead and move on to city actions and services. I'll turn this over to John, but I will say I think that we're all getting the complaints about restaurants still doing in-house dining or inside dining. I think that all the conversations I have with folks, I just explain that they have the right the right to choose whether or not they want to patronize a business who's violating the order or not. It is something to be mindful of, that these businesses have been shut down off and on for nearly a year now, coming up on a year, and employees of these establishments, I'm sure, are in dire straits, many of them. And again, you have the right as a citizen to patronize or choose not to patronize these businesses. The city is not going to be in the business of enforcing. We're in the business of educating. If the state chooses to do something, that's the state's prerogative, but these folks are all hurting. These employees need to pay bills like the rest of us. And it's particularly frustrating because some businesses in our communities are allowed to be open and doing business, like bigger box grocery stores or bigger box retail centers, yet restaurants and retail in our community is forced to shut down. So I just wanted to mention that there's a lot of frustration out there. Everybody needs to take a deep breath, and you can choose to patronize or choose not to patronize. It's your right, but we need to be compassionate with these folks, because not only the business owners but the employees of the businesses are all struggling, and that needs to be contemplated when you're sending nasty emails to your council people about people sitting in restaurants. Anyway, that's enough of that. John, do you have anything else you want to add on to city actions and services? I know our big item is the next one, but I figured I'd see if you have anything you want to add, John.
Yeah, I think Councilmember Riddell Harris had a question.
Yeah, Rachel, go ahead.
Is that okay? Thank you. I just wanted to add on to what you were saying. I appreciate that that's difficult for the restaurants, but I also sympathize with the people who want to make sure that we're following the state orders and want to make sure that cases stay low or they're at all-time highs. And so we want to make sure we're reducing cases. As long as the weather is beautiful like it is right now, we should be encouraging restaurants, since they can eat outside, to go outside, to not be having people with masks off indoors as much as possible. And so I just would like to express the other side, that we need to make sure we're encouraging our local businesses to do the best that they can to make sure we're not spreading this disease amongst people. If there's ways that we can do that, allow them to function, like eating outdoors, then we should be encouraging them to do that. So that way we're helping to reduce the spread. I really want to make sure that as many people can make it to actually getting a vaccine as possible. And I think that that's very important, that we think about that as well as thinking about our businesses.
Thank you, Rachel. And again, that's a part of the education process that the city is undertaking. Any other questions?
No, I'll go ahead and kind of kick in. Basically 3 areas. I'm going to let the big show go to Jackie and April and the folks that have been working on the Placer Shares 3 stuff. For the most part, as information's become available, we've been pushing it out on the revocation of the stay-at-home order. Lots of emails to businesses today. A matter of fact, pushed more information out on where and how to get the vaccine and where you sit in all the various tiers. So that's going up. And a matter of fact, not that I wasn't paying attention, but I was going to post the information on the city website about the Placer County COVID, getting the appointments and all that. So we will have all that done today. Like I said, I'll let Jackie and April and everybody talk about the Placer Shares 3 stuff, which, by the way, I will just tell you, it's wonderful working with everybody on all this. There's some flexibility on where I think things are going to go, but there's both short-term and long-term thinking, which is really good. On today's call with the other communities in Placer County, a matter of fact, Auburn was called out as being the one that was really doing it. So it's always nice to be recognized within the region as doing some things. The one thing that I will share that has to do with some of the outdoor dining stuff, obviously, we're going to start moving to that. That's what we're encouraging the businesses to do. I will share with everybody that I am working on kind of the next phase of everything. Right now, we're just letting folks move their restaurants and outdoor dining and all that really within the loose framework of COVID restrictions, or at least the COVID emergency. What I'm working on is taking some of the city's existing ordinances and formatting so that some of these businesses can make application for having this going past COVID. Right now, all the permits say within 45 hours of the revocation of the COVID state of emergency, they got to pull everything. Some I don't think are going to want to do that, especially given some of the investment. So in planning jargon, they're often referred to as sidewalk cafe ordinances. One of the things that the Auburn Municipal Code does allow is for some of the outdoor dining. There needs to be a little bit of enhancement for what we have to approve outright encroachment into the right-of-way, into parking spaces, those types of things. So I'm working on some components to maybe update some of the city's ordinances for sidewalk cafe. One of the issues, obviously, is that the most popular areas are going to fall into both the downtown business district as well as the old town. With that triggers a couple of planning review items with the Historic Design Review Commission and the Planning Commission. My plan on that is that we're going to come up with some generic guidelines. Which by the way, a lot of this already exists, but we're going to bring in some type of guidelines which would allow for some type of over-the-counter review and over-the-counter permitting within the purview of some things. I can tell you that right now I have 2 businesses that have both submitted awesome proposals for moving beyond COVID. And so we're going to start moving all that forward just so that we have our ducks in a row. We're going to work on the plaster shares things. It's the idea of short-term and long-term thinking. So anyway, working on that. And I know the council's getting a lot of calls. I get a lot of calls on all the COVID things. We're trying to do education. For every call that I get, I do personally contact the businesses that have been called on. I let them know. We do have a couple of businesses that have been probably our most egregious offenders, and trying to work with them, I will say, has been a challenge. Hopefully with the ability for the outdoor dining thing, I'm making a couple of other calls to say, listen, let's move things out. I know that Jackie's ordering heaters, and maybe those can be some of the first locations that they go if they're going to play ball with things. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Do they have questions for John? All right, next item on our agenda is the Placer Shares program and additional grants. And I'm going to turn this over to Jackie.
Oh, yay. Thank you.
Hey, you're welcome.
I love this. I feel like I've been talking about this program all day long. We have submitted our application. We did get notification from the SBDC that we will not be getting the full amount that we applied for. Their idea was that a couple of the districts would apply for less and we'd be able to get more. And unfortunately, those districts did not apply for less. They applied for the whole thing. They are working with at least one of the districts that I know of to try and get them to lessen their request, since their business, they don't have very many businesses. So to help way less businesses for the same amount of money as, you know, us or even Rockland and Roseville have is not necessary. So for sure, we found out that we will be getting somewhere in the number of 180 to 185,000. And we won't know for sure on any more until after the grant process closes, which is the 16th. So I would assume by like the end of next week, we'll have a final number. I did talk to her a little bit about maybe some advancement on the grant, just to get started, since we did get the stay-at-home order lifted, which means we need to get our structures built. And so she's going to work on trying to get us some of the money to start working on the projects that are needed immediately. I actually have a layout of what we're doing if you'd like to see that, Mr. Mayor.
Love to see it.
Okay, I will share it if Amy will so let me. Did it work? No, that's not what you want to see. There it is. Can you see my spreadsheet? Or yep. my plan. So we've changed it to the Auburn. I don't know if we collaboratively, but we changed it to the Auburn Community Business Support Plan because it's more than just the Placer Shares program now. We have the money coming from Placer Shares, but we also have the wonderful money from the city to add to it, as well as we got a donation that we should be seeing shortly from an anonymous donor through the Placer Community Foundation as well. So it's more than just the county coming together. It's really more of a collaborative program than I think we ever would have thought happened. So as you can see on there, we have our capital projects, which are the heaters and covers, right-of-way infrastructure and installation of those heaters and covers, in both the downtown and Old Town business districts. The capital projects are basing on just the business districts themselves and not anywhere outside of the districts. So that's where a large chunk of our funding is going. We will also be working on technical assistance to help businesses either get like a landing page or social media, whatever they need to move their business along and increase their business if they don't already have it. I'm going to work with our marketing team to put together a package that the downtown and Old Town can take to their district and say who needs this and how severe are your needs, and then we'll vet them to figure out who exactly needs them and how badly they need them to see who starts first. Promotion, we'll also be building a Think Auburn First website that will be everything about Auburn. So we'll have all the different business districts. We're going to have a place to house the Shop Auburn Live videos that we did prior to Christmas, and we'll be continuing to do the Dine Auburn Live that we're going to start soon, so that we can get a taste of Auburn, and Daniel can help me eat our way through Auburn. I think we're not calling it Eat Auburn, it's Dine Auburn Live, I think we decided on.
Hey, I want to sign up for that, Jackie.
I know that was the only way I could get Daniel to continue if I offered him possible free food.
Hold on now, and some of us are going to have an offshoot, which will be Drink Auburn.
Yeah.
And we're going to go to all the breweries and the wineries and everything.
I'll sign up for that one.
Yeah,
I think we have to do that one after hours, though, just to be cohesive. So that page will be awesome because it'll have all the business districts, including North Auburn, 49, the airport. We will include Forest Hill since they are part of our region on that page, just so that Forest Hill has a landing spot and they can direct people to them, and maybe by directing to Forest Hill, they'll see about Auburn as well. We're also going to be working on promotion, doing some advertising, some online advertising, and a lot of print advertising. I've been working with a printing marketing company to put together some spotlights to spotlight different business associations, to spotlight the restaurants, and just do a continuous mailing to promote Auburn the best that we can. There is so much work involved in this support plan. We will be working with Food Jets and the restaurants to cover the cost of food delivery. So if the restaurant signs up with Food Jets, they will send us the invoice that Food Jet sends them. I think that they take about 25%, and we will cut them a check for the difference so that they're not out any money out of their pocket. We also check with Food Jets, and the breweries and wineries can take part in this as well. So we'll be doing more than just restaurants. The breweries and wineries can do it. And I believe the supermarkets, if they really want to too. I know Grocery Outlet is locally owned, but we're sticking to the small business because that's where we have to keep our money. So we can't go to like Save Mart or anything.
Hey, Jackie, quick question. How widely used is that service? I mean, do we have an estimate of how much of our overall budget will be consumed with the food delivery compensation that we're talking about here?
Lincoln has been doing this for a few months, and they spend around $7,000 a month on this. But it just kind of depends on how many restaurants we get to sign up.
Got it.
I did talk to one restaurant in particular who was a little leery of signing up because once you sign up, it's hard to come off of it. People kind of expect to see a restaurant on the food delivery system, and some restaurants just don't want to pay for it. But I also talked to another well-known restaurant that you speak highly of a lot, and he said that it's actually, it's kind of a win for him because he gets his product out farther than his normal delivery drivers, and in the long run costs a little less because he's using a system, another system. So it just kind of depends on the restaurant. some restaurants just don't want to deliver because they don't feel like their food is good delivered. So it's just kind of a wait and see who we can get to jump on board. I know that one of the restaurants outside city limits is already on Food Jets and will be taking us up on the offer. But other than that, I haven't heard from a lot of them. So my goal is to go to the different business districts and speak with their members at their meetings and try and get them to join. Because it not only helps the restaurant, but it helps a lot of the people that are really trying to buckle down and stay at home to get restaurants from more than just who's already on there.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, Alice.
Yeah, Jackie, so Food Jets, that's the delivery that's locally owned, right?
And that's why that's why we chose to go, or why I felt was the best way to go.
Yeah.
Rather than DoorDash or Grubhub. Food Jets is a franchise, so it's a large corporation, but the local franchise in Auburn is owned locally by Placer Grad.
Yes, that's yeah. I was almost sure. I just wanted to make sure, but that Food Jets, because I know people are using DoorDash and all these others, but I was pretty sure it was Food Jets. So very glad to hear that. Thanks.
Yeah. So and on the other side of that, I felt like it not only would help the restaurants, it would help Food Jets increase their restaurants, because they do struggle because they can't compete as much as DoorDash does. So I felt like it was a win-win for everyone on that side of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then the direct equipment assistance is more of the heaters and covers and stuff like that for the outside the business districts, or outside the common areas of the business districts. So that allows for us to go out and do more of the single locations that can't have more than one business using the same equipment. And then if it's needed on any of the 49 or North Auburn, that's where that'll come from as well. I don't want to speak a lot on the rental assistance because it is such a small part of our entire plan, but we did put a little bit of rental assistance in for the service industries. So hair salons, the nail salons, tattoo, the folks that have just keep getting shut down with no way of doing anything. So there is a little bit of rental assistance in there, as well as included in that is a small chunk of money to go to the State Theater, since they are truly an asset to our community, and they are struggling just like everyone else. So that's what we got. So hopefully our goal is to figure out where these buckets are going to hold, and then if we can get more money to increase the buckets and get more covers, because we are limited on the number of covers and heaters we're getting currently. And so if we get more money, we can up that quantity as well. Any questions before I close the screen?
I see Rob's hand up. Rob?
A quick question on those last couple items, Jackie, and it's awesome that you guys, it looks like you're going to be fully funded to what you asked for with the additional monies, right? So super encouraging. As far as people that aren't living in, or businesses not existing in the main two districts, or the rental assistant program, whatever it may entail, do you have an application process? How is that going to play out? How can businesses get in line or get consideration for some of these programs? And also you mentioned Forest Hill. Did they or did they not put their own application in? And if they didn't, are their businesses eligible for some of that direct equipment, or how did you structure that?
Yeah, you're talking about like the structures for outside the business districts, or?
Yeah, just the things that fall outside of the scope of DBA and OTBA, basically. So you
like in South Auburn, the new restaurant that just opened there, the Mexican restaurant.
Las Cabanas Taqueria.
Yes, that's it. Yes, thank you.
Sandy's the great advocate for.
I am. I want a business to succeed there.
I know, it's a great little restaurant too.
And plus it's by Rob and I.
I know we had talked about in early stages, and I kind of lost track of that, about sending a note out to all the businesses in the greater Auburn area from the business licenses from the county, and kind of let them know what we were doing and get a feel for what they need. I thank you, Rob, for telling me that, because I did kind of it's been a kind of a chaotic trying to put it all together. I have a list from the county, and I can get it updated. This one was a couple months old, to get a note out to them. The problem is getting people to sign up for anything is really the struggle that we've been having. So if you're in a business, and you just have them call, have them send me an email, I can give you business cards and just hand them out. I would be happy to field that call. It's just, there's only so much that we can do from here to get them to sign up. I can't handhold each of the restaurants to sign up for everything.
But Jackie, ultimately though, wouldn't you, there's a chance that you'd have more interest than you have, funds. And that's why I was wondering if there's an application process, if it comes to that. Because, if I'm a business owner, and there's a chance for some relief or some subsidies, I'm certainly going to want, I would think, to get in line for some of that if possible. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. And I the idea with this grant that we did get from the county was to help more than one business at a time. So I feel like the requests would have to be weighted on how many businesses it would help, or how large of a business it would help. So it just needs to help the most people with the smallest amount of money that we can. Yes, Forest Hill did. No, as far as I know, Forest Hill did not apply for anything. I have had talks with someone on their board at the chamber. I'm not going to stick my foot in my mouth like Daniel, but it doesn't sound like they're as organized as we are. And I haven't heard back from them. I did offer to even go out there and kind of walk the walk and figure out what Forest Hill needs. And I didn't hear back from that either. So I'm hoping that as soon as this calms down a little bit, maybe I can go out to Forest Hill and just talk with the businesses and see what, I don't think there's a ton of businesses out there. I mail out to all of their restaurants about the food jets part too, so that they could jump on board to that. So yes, we do have to cover Forest Hill, as long as they want covering.
Jackie?
Yeah.
Could you get us some of your business cards? Because I can hand them out to restaurants and stuff that I'm going to as well. If you just somehow could get them to us at City Hall.
Sure.
And maybe John can just put, some in each of our boxes. That way, if we're out and about, Sandy and I are at the Mexican restaurant, we can hand them one.
I would love that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Jackie, thank you very much for that report, and certainly for all you're doing. We do appreciate it. And I know the city's helping wherever we can. Let us know whatever else we can do to help support you in these efforts, please.
I will say though, as much hard work as I am doing, it's not only me. We are a team. The city, the business districts, everyone's just working cohesively, and I'm just the voice. I'm not necessarily all the work, but thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to, I think we sort of just got
I had a question about the chamber, for the chamber.
Yeah, go ahead.
That's not related to the grant, so I wasn't sure which one we were on. But
go ahead, Rachel.
In regards to the amount of masks and hand sanitizer that we have left, how's that going? Because I've heard some of the nonprofits might need some help with those. If we're running over and and we don't have a lot of demand, we might consider helping out some of the nonprofits that are dealing with some of the more needy folks.
So nonprofits are included in the distribution of PPE.
Okay.
We were running low thanks to a very large open house we had last week or the week before.
Okay.
But luckily we were swift and got a new delivery in just so that I could see John crawl and get upset with me again. No, we did. Matt's team went down yesterday and picked up 2 more pallets of hand sanitizer and a half a pallet of masks because we were almost out.
Is that for just the city of Auburn, or is that the greater area?
Greater Auburn area.
Okay, because there's a couple of places.
Yeah, it just has to be in Placer County. That's the only restriction.
Perfect. I will send them to you.
Awesome. Let's move on to business association reports. And I would like to start with April, please.
I will try and be fast. As Jackie said, we've been seeing each other on screen a lot lately. I'm looking forward to finding out what the rules are going to be for installation of the shelters in some of the difficult spots in downtown that aren't just flat. You know, like Central Square is one thing, but in front of restaurants, into the parking spaces and all that, because I have, concerned restaurants that have talked to staff about needing to get engineering reports, which is prohibitive. So those, there was talk a while back about having a grand meeting of like historic design, planning, engineering, all the permitting, so it would be streamlined. So I need that so I can plan, the installations for downtown. I was told today by Jackie that the billboard is going to go back up. That is an all Auburn message for Shop Auburn, or I can't remember what it says. It's the black and white one that was up before. Let's see. I did want to say that, let's see. I think Jackie covered it. The only other issue that I'm just, I guess I'm getting a little manic, but I'm worried about the time because we're supposed to spend all this money by the 31st. So, I'm just looking forward to us really being on it and getting efficient and getting the materials purchased and out there. I don't know how long it will take for Echo Valley to deliver the shelters. I thought, that there would be a turnaround time on that. And I'm texting with Connie, so maybe I'll know that by the end of the call. So that's all. I just want to get the stuff out on the street. I'm done.
Thank you, April. Appreciate that. Thank you for all you're doing. Sandy.
April, thank you, Mayor Spokely. April, I might have missed it. I came on late. I'm sorry. What's the status of ordering the heaters?
Jackie's been getting them a bit at a time from Amazon, I believe, and I think maybe there's 12 or something.
Oh,
I have 8 currently in my corridor, and I have I believe 15 being delivered next week. And now it's become more of a heater issue. Now it's trying to find propane tanks. So I'll be working on that.
So was Amazon a little less expensive than Grumley's business? April?
They were less expensive, and they were also quicker turnaround.
Okay. And if he can help you with the propane, maybe that's another source. I don't know.
Well, Harris Industrial Gases, I'm sure, could probably, don't they do propane?
They do.
Don't know.
They do, and that might be a good way to support that business.
Yes.
I know I filled my tanks at Harris down. I go to their store down below, or down in Citrus Heights, pardon me. But we might want to reach out to the Harrises and see if they might be able to help there. I understand that the cost of the propane is a significant cost for businesses on a weekly basis to keep the heaters running.
So we actually John talked to Echo Valley about that. They have a couple large tanks that that we can go fill the smaller tanks at a significantly less price than we had anticipated. We were thinking they were going to be around $17 or $18 to fill, and I think Echo Valley came in at $12. So that's a huge price cut. Now we just have to work with the businesses and the business districts on getting them filled. I think I have some ideas for that, so I will be working with them on that.
But if you
Great,
do need
thank you.
additional sources, I think
No,
that
100%.
Harris Industrial, yeah.
For some reason, I had it in my head that they were not propane, so I will actually call over there today and talk with them. Thank you very much for, because they are a friend of mine as well.
Yes.
And
Big
a friend
supporter.
of the community, yes. They are a huge supporter in the community.
Yes.
Great. Thank you. Any other questions for April? All righty, we'll move on. I see Nina's on the call. Nina, do you have?
Hi, can you hear me? Hi, guys.
How are you?
So, sorry. Hi, Mayor. So we had our meeting Tuesday night and there was some talk about structures and things like that. I think for Old Town, permanent or structures like that are not going to work just because of the way the traffic flow. Businesses don't want streets shut down. So what we would be interested in with some of the funding is we talked about, we have some benches that are pretty dilapidated. Maybe getting some of those, getting trash cans that got removed when they thought that there was going to be a riot and there wasn't a riot, and we've never gotten trash cans back. And the feeling for the businesses and the restaurants down there is doing things like that is better for our business district because it makes it look nicer. It's going to encourage people to walk around more and keep that flow moving. They didn't really want to put the structures out. I know there was some talk of shutting down Washington Street. They don't want to do that, the restaurants. They'd rather have people sit outside on the benches, walk around with food. Some of the restaurants have their own tables outside. That's what they would rather see. So, and some heaters. So when that funding comes in and how it's part and parcel, for us, it's more of encouraging seating throughout. We have Herschel Young Park that's got 3 benches that fell apart. Putting some more bench space back in there would be more beneficial, the business district felt. So I'd like to explore that when as the funds come in and what we can do to make Old Town more attractive in that way, because we don't have the benefit that downtown has of just a straight area where you could still flow some traffic yet have structure. We looked at that, walked it, there was just no way to do it for the restaurants down there.
Nina, we did talk about that this morning in our meeting, and you and I and maybe Daniel could meet up and discuss that later or at the general meeting, but we can talk about that outside of this meeting.
Okay.
Because Christine did bring that to our meeting this morning.
Okay, great. Thank you. But that's kind of it. I mean, we are planning some things. We talked about doing some stuff in the spring, you know, on a smaller scale, kind of like what we did at Christmas time, but it brought people down and getting some music down there and doing things like that just to encourage business flow. I think we were looking at the first Thursday in April of doing something in the first Thursday in September, kind of taking the summer when it's hot off. And just bringing kind of a small little outdoor marketplace down there.
Nina, and maybe John and I can talk more about this, but aren't we talking about trying to do something right there in front of the post office where we've got that, you know, where we normally do different events throughout the year?
There has been talk about that, and that came up in the meeting, but I think that might be a little bit more of a Herculean effort than we can do immediately, because it sounds like because on that, just looking at that, walking around, you'd have to figure out how to block traffic from taking anyone out. You know, when we do events, we have stanchions and stuff up, and people are more cautious, and sometimes we close streets. But if you're doing something more on a permanent basis, I think we'd have to look at really making sure that that was kind of a safer area. That would be the one concern there, because there is that flow of traffic that goes through there.
I'm gonna throw in a quick comment on that as well. We can't take that space because we have all of our deliveries for all of our restaurants and businesses park right there. And if you take that space away, then they're gonna be blocking traffic. It would make it a ton more difficult for deliveries. Nobody has back doors. Everything comes through the front, and that's kind of the main hub of where all of the big semis come to make all the food deliveries and whatnot. So that space is probably not a viable space for a permanent structure.
Mr.
Yeah, I think there's just two very unique, I guess, landscape. I don't know the word, sorry, but just, you know, Old Town's very unique from downtown. And I think it's great, April, you're amazing what you're doing down there. And we definitely want to collaborate, but we can't facilitate the same type of structures and stuff. For us, I think it's more of Old Town's got a reputation. We still get people down there. We got people down there at Christmas by doing small events, marketplaces, things like that. So for us, that's kind of where we're really focusing towards, is doing things outdoors for the community, and that will influx people down there and encouraging people to walk around.
I think April wanted to say something, and I'll come back to you, Sandy. April, did you want to say something?
No,
Okay. Sandy, go ahead.
Yeah, I've been mentioning that I didn't think that they wanted to block off that space, so I wasn't. No.
Thank you, Sandy.
Thank you. This is a smaller space, but what about that little park there? I just think it would be nice to have some real visible outdoor component in Old Town, and that park at least would offer something. I don't know if you've explored that.
We did talk about that, Sandy.
Herschel Young?
Yes, Herschel Young. Thank you.
Yeah, and we did talk about that. That's where the talk came up about benches. There was also talk about maybe having you guys help us invest in some nice umbrellas, but not tables per se, more just where people can sit and relax. The reason with the tables is also downtown has more restaurants, and their structures are going to be right out in front of their restaurants. So for Old Town, it then becomes who's going to be responsible for pickup and cleanup, and whose restaurants, are using it and trying to coordinate and rotate those days is difficult. So it was more, again, maybe promoting something where there's some seating, so people can relax. If they got food to go, they could sit over at the park. It also came up, that park has been a trouble spot for us with homeless and drug deals and things. So I am talking with the chief about what we need to do.
Thank you. Thank you.
Too. So again,
Anita, you glitched out right at the end, but I think we got the gist of
Okay.
that part. Danny, you got a question?
Yeah, not a question. I just want to let the group know that Jackie and I will be attending the OTBA general meeting. We can talk more about this. We did have a good discussion this morning with Christine about, there are some restrictions with the grant dollars and how they pair up with, I think, the vision that was shared with us yet this morning that the board might have. And so, again, not to hash it out here, but I think we've started some of those discussions. And then again, with your meeting next week, we can talk more and figure out the best way to continue to support OTBA. So I just wanted for the entire group know that the concerns Nina's bringing aren't falling on deaf ears. We have been working to try to solve it and come with it. And again, with our meeting that's coming up this week, we'll continue that discussion.
thank you so much.
Great, thank you very much. I'm not seeing anybody from 49 on the call.
Monique.
Monique's from 49.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm sorry, Monique. There you are. Monique, do you have a report for us?
Might be actually working.
She probably is working, knowing Monique. All right, we can come back to her. I do see Marjorie Cook on the call. I want to thank you, Marjorie, and I know we talked about this before on this call, but the The website that you're sponsoring or posting to on a very regular basis, Open in Auburn, I think is fantastic. Every time I see one of those darn posts, it makes me hungry and I want to go order food. So it's working. Well done.
Yes.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So no update out here. I mean, it seems like they're busy on the weekends. The weather is great outside. Yeah, nobody out here, I don't think needs shade structures. They have them. They have heaters if they need them. I'll find out on the heaters for sure, but no real update. But that picture was taken recently that's behind me, and the districts are doing well. So at least as far as getting shoppers out on the weekends.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions for the business associations? I am seeing none. Next item is our next meeting, and the way we've been kind of doing these is kind of on an as-needed basis. But I'll put it out there to this group. Do we want to schedule one for next week, or do we want to go 2 weeks out? What is everybody's
2 weeks.
thoughts? Jackie, somebody said 2 weeks.
I did.
Okay.
I said 2 weeks.
I see a lot of twos. Let's go ahead and plan on that. Obviously, if new information surprises all of us, like the opening back up of the Greater Sacramento region pops up, we might change that. But for now, let's all plan on doing this again in a couple of weeks. I want to thank you all for taking the time out of your busy days and your Friday afternoons to join us here. Stay safe, everybody. Enjoy the beautiful weekend. It's going to be like 70, I think, this weekend. Get outside.
Can you believe that?
Get outside, do some hiking, and enjoy the weather while we got it. Hopefully it'll start raining soon.
Yeah.
Thank you again, everybody, for joining us. Take care and have a great weekend.
Thanks, everyone.